Welcome to the Be Real podcast with Bobby Maximus and Joe Cebula. And today we're going to get right down to business. That's what we always do. These are short, they're fast, they're furious, all the information you need in 15 minutes or less. We are going to talk about things that no one's talking about when it comes to gaining muscle after 40. The first thing I want to say, Joe, is yes, you can get fit after 40.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
You can gain muscle after 40. Despite what the internet would have you believe, you're not on your deathbed, you're not on the downhill slide, you're not falling off a cliff. You can be every bit as good in your 40s as you are in your 20s. That's the first thing I just really need you to understand.
Well, there's not like your muscles don't have a timer in them somewhere that's like, oh, as soon as you hit, 39.99 and then it clicks over on your 40th birthday and then chemistry changes, right?
Yep.
Like the things that impact your muscle are the same. The basics of how we develop fitness, develop muscle, it doesn't change just because of age. There are other factors that come into play. And I think we'll talk about this more as we go on, but your mileage is a really important thing. If you've never done anything, you're coming from a very different place. If you're a really, really high level athlete, the game does change a little bit because of that extra mileage.
But when you talk about a high level athlete, and this is the point I'm really trying to make here. If you're LeBron James, you're probably not as good at 45 as you are when you're 20.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Usain Bolt, who won 3 or 4 gold medals in the Olympics, you're probably not as fast at 45 as you were when you were 25. If you're Michael Phelps, with all his gold medals and all his Olympic credentials, you're not all of a sudden going to hit your peak at 45 or 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So people have this idea that you're going to fall apart in your 40s or you're going to decline as you get older. But that is such a small percentage of the population. We're talking people, Joe, that have trained from a young age and have actually hit their peak. If you're watching this video, you're nowhere near your peak.
And never have been.
You never have been. And so that's why you could be more fit in your 40s than you were in your 20s, because you haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, this is a capacity issue, right? Like LeBron James is near his physical and genetic capacity. There's not much that dude could do to be more fit than he has been. And so the factor that's holding him back is, like I mentioned just a minute ago, it's that mileage. It's the age of him as an athlete, not the age of him as a human being. And I think it's easy to convolute those two things. But when you're at your absolute capacity, and that's what I mean, if you've been this high level competitive, an Olympian, you were a professional bodybuilder for 30 years, like age does change the way that you're going to go about trying to keep what you had. You're so far above that average line. The typical person out there walking around who's never really been an athlete, never really been that fit, has never seen their abs before. Like, you have so much room under that curve that you need to cover that, you can outperform what you were because you weren't that good 10 years ago. You weren't that good 20 years ago.
Yeah, you've got these guys walking around with a 30-pound gut who haven't worked out in 10 years.
Yeah.
That think they just can't do it. So that's the first thing, right? And so you can build muscle in your 40s. You can get the physique you want in your 40s. Now, do you have to work a little harder than you did than when you were 20? 100%. You've got a lot more leeway.
To be fair, though, the best time to have started getting in shape was 20 or 30 years ago. But that boat has sailed. So the next best time is today. So you got to work with where you're at today. You can't go back in time and convince your younger self to get on the train, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the dream.
Right. But so here we are. So you're 40 years old. Now, are there 40-year-olds who are like Shred City who look good? Yeah, hell yeah, there are. There's 40, 50, 60-year-olds who look good. So we know that it's possible. We absolutely know that it's possible. And if you're coming in and like I said, you've never trained before, you got a lot of room to grow. So don't sweat the aging thing.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, so we've established now that it is possible to get extremely fit in your 40s. And no, you're probably not going to come off the couch and win an Olympic medal or find yourself in the NBA. And if you look at a guy like me, Joe, like I was at my peak UFC career at what, 27, 28 years old,
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to all of a sudden win a world championship at 45, 46, 47, 48 years old.
Mhm.
Like, let's establish that. But you can get really fit or maintain an elite level of fitness into your 40s. So we've established that. But the second thing that people don't talk about enough, in my opinion, is recovery.
Yeah.
Everyone's about the magic program. They're about the hard workout. They're about what's your favorite split. But what people don't talk about is the sleep, the nutrition, the massage, the saunas, the ice baths. Like, you just have to pay more attention to that stuff when you're an aged or seasoned athlete.
Yeah, and I think that goes with your athletic level as well, right? Like if you've never trained before, like training 3 times a week can really leave you wrecked. But if you've been somebody who's been training an hour a day every day for the last 6 years, training 2 hours a day isn't going to wreck you the same way that somebody off the couch is going to get destroyed by that workout. So it's not that the program is magic, right? Like you've got your own capacity as an athlete to recover from the work that you're doing, and that grows as you do the work.
Yep.
And so people are worried. They're like, well, you can't train every day because you're overtraining. And it's like, no. You can't train every day because you've never been on that. You've never done that. You've never learned how to manage your recovery. But there are lots of people who train more than just every day. They train 2-3 times a day.
Well, and
so it's possible to get there.
The human capacity for work is a lot greater than what people think.
Yeah.
You're thinking, like when you bring up that you're wrecked off 3 days a week, any human being should be able to handle more than that. But
in a perfect world, right?
Not when you're sleeping 4 hours a night. You drink 5 days out of 7. Like what we're saying on one of the other podcasts, we looked it up. The average American has 636 alcoholic beverages a year. When you're that guy, that's the average.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're that guy and your entire diet consists of fast food and you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night and you're stressed out to the max because you hate your job, you hate your wife, you hate your kids, you hate your life choices. You're playing fantasy football and this is stressing you out because CMC's out now week 1 and your whole league is blowing apart, right? Because you made the mistake of drafting this guy. Man, 3 days a week is going to be hard, but that's because you're not taking care of yourself on the other side. It's not the work that's hurting you. You're capable of a lot more. It's this other stuff. And if you took an average 40-year-old off the couch, Joe, even without working out, if you all of a sudden had that person eat healthy, sleep 8 hours a night, and get rid of the nonsense stress and the booze, they would see a remarkable change just off that. Never mind the workouts.
Well, there's the old saying, you are what you eat, right? So if all you eat is garbage, guess what your body is made of?
Yep.
You're not getting quality ingredients. You're not getting what your body needs to thrive. You know, it's like planting a garden full of weeds and then you're wondering why flowers aren't growing. And then all of a sudden you decide you want flowers. You got to get the weeds out of the way to make room for those other plants.
Yeah.
So clean it up. And additionally, the changes that you're talking about, they happen at the rate at which cells divide, right? It happens at like the speed of mitosis. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't just eat one healthy meal and then suddenly have a completely different body. It takes time for all of those processes to happen, for all those molecules, all those chemicals and all those cells in your body to replace with happier, healthier cells anyway. So it's not an instantaneous thing. It takes time for that to rebuild.
Question I have is why aren't more people focused on recovery? And it seems pretty simple to me, Joe. It's not sexy.
No,
it's not sexy for me to, you know what does well for me? When I'm flexing with my shirt off, doing pull-ups, my back muscles are popping out, deadlifting 600 pounds, dunking a basketball, like whatever it is, that's the stuff that does well.
Yeah.
If I talk about sleep, if I talk about, good nutrition, if I talk about wellness, if I talk about a foam roller session, it absolutely bombs. It just doesn't sell.
Well, every single time that you mention sleep, somebody has to come in the comments and say how it's impossible and how I could never understand how people have to live because sleep is such a luxury.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with your life, dude? Like, come on. Like, why? And additionally, why are you even fighting me on this? Like, you know that this is true. You know that, yes, you're living off 5 hours of sleep, mostly because you make poor life decisions, but you would be better off 8 hours of sleep. And you cannot deny that.
Well, and that's exactly it. And I'm glad you brought up poor life decisions, because let's just look at a normal person. Are there people who struggle with sleep? Police officers, firefighters,
Yeah, third
surgeons,
shifters.
maybe air traffic controllers, people in corrections. Like, I get it, right? But for your average person, let's say you gotta be up, Joe, at 5:30 in the morning to get to work for 7 or 8 or whatever that looks like. If you're going to bed at 9:30, you're getting your 8 hours of sleep. My question to you is, why aren't you going to bed at 9:30? You're telling me you can't get any sleep. It's impossible. You got things to do. So are you working at 9:30?
This is the big one. I got kids. And it's like, then why are you awake at 9:30 at night? Like,
so
go to
you
bed.
got kids, right? Remind me of their ages.
8. Well, JoJo turned 9 today. So we got 6 and 9 now.
So are they up at 9:30 having a party? Like, no, your kids are probably in bed at 8:30. Are you working that late at night?
No, I don't.
Probably not. On your average Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or even Thursday, are you going out? Probably not. So what are you doing when you're up that late? Oh, I got it. You're watching Monday night football, especially if you're on the East Coast because you're up late. You're watching Thursday night football. You're watching Sunday night football. So there's 3 nights gone, Joe.
Yep.
Then on Saturday night, you're watching college football. So there's 4 nights gone. Sports are really taking up a lot of your life. And then the other nights, you're watching whatever show on Netflix or Max or YouTube TV. You're watching another episode of Cobra Kai, and it's 11:30 at night, and you know you should be in bed, but you're not. That 100% is a choice. And I get that you worked from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. You got home, you had dinner, you put the kids to bed, and you really just want a couple of hours to yourself to do whatever you want. But you're choosing that over sleep. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
You're choosing that. And if you need that because you hate your job and you hate your wife and you hate your kids and you desperately just need to suck yourself into a mystical land on television to escape from your reality, that's your fault.
It is 100%. And you may be willing to take that hit for the short term. Like, maybe you're just working for that pension. Maybe you've got a plan, and that's fine, but you are sacrificing a lot more than you realize at that point. Like, maybe the 6-pack abs just aren't in the cards for you. So maybe move on.
Yeah. And Joe, I don't get it. And I'm trying to be sympathetic or empathetic here a little bit. Like, I love my life. I love my job. I like my hobbies. I love my family. Like, I'm not sitting there at 9 o'clock at night thinking, thank God the kids are in bed and it's quiet so I can just be by myself and watch TV. You understand what I mean? Like, I've had a fun day with the kids. In fact, it makes me kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The other night we were playing Uncharted. It's our favorite video game series. But I was kind of sad they had to go to bed because I was having fun with them. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to escape from my reality at 11 o'clock at night. And so if you want to change your life over 40, and this is what people aren't telling you, sleep, but they always got to sell you on some superfood, some supplement. You got to, and listen, I'm a fan of the ice bath with the cold plunge, but like, you got to plunge in ice every morning, and that's going to be the thing that propels you to success.
It's eating bull testicles. We've heard this before.
Just get some sleep.
Well, so I mean, just kind of take it back. Like, everybody's going to tell you that it's impossible. You can't do it. Building muscle over 40 is a completely different process. And we're just saying, no, it isn't. Your life is very different in your 40s than it is in your 20s. But guess what? You're in your 40s. You should be putting your foot down, and you should be living the kind of life you want to live. Like, what are you working? What are you slaving away for a company that doesn't appreciate you? Like, if your health and your well-being is important to you, you're going to have to start making some of these changes. And I'm not saying they're easy. I'm not even saying they're possible. You got to make those things possible.
That's exactly it, my man. So listen, you're over 40, start working hard, have a bit of faith, focus on working out, and also focus on your sleep. your nutrition, and all the other things you can do, and great things are going to happen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Be Real podcast. If you like this stuff, we do all kinds of podcasts on this type of information. Joe, we've covered what? Nutrition, recovery, workout splits, leg exercises, ab exercises, philosophy, goal setting. Check us out. Watch all the episodes, subscribe, turn your notifications on, tell all your friends, and be better.